Good day, Virgin Islanders. It's Rick Grant here with For the Record. Today it is my honor to interview Senator Angel Bolques Jr. Good day, Senator. How are you?
Good day, Mr. Grant. I'm doing very well, and thank you for having me here on the For the Record show. I'd like to thank the Phi Beta Sigma and Zeta Phi Beta for fraternity and sorority groups for having me here today.
Excellent. So you are seeking a seat in the St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John because you are an at-large candidate in the 35th Legislature of the Virgin Islands. For those that might not know who you are, who is Angel Bolques Jr.?
Thank you for that question. I am a son of the soil. I was born on St. Croix, raised most of my life on the island of St. John, and worked most of my professional career on the island of St. Thomas. So I would like to think of myself as the epitome of a Virgin Islander. I have about 15 years in the hospitality industry. I've also worked in the reservations, revenue, and sales departments as well. I was also a teacher at Gift Hill School on St. John. I taught computer technology and Spanish there, and also worked for the public sector. Worked for the election system of the Virgin Islands as the administrative assistant to the St. Thomas St. John District Board of Elections. I left there to go work for Senator Marvin Blyden to further myself, to learn more about the legislative process, to understand the intricacies from bill to law. So I've been doing that for the last 2 years prior to holding this position.
Okay. So having said that, how has the transition been from working in the Senate to serving as a senator at large?
Good question. It's been very, very positive. I believe the time that I took, or the sacrifice that I took to actually go in to work for a senator, gave me the opportunity to not only to understand the process, but also to see how senators operate and how they communicate with one another, in a sense to look out for what, because with board dynamics, even though the legislature is an institution, it's still sort of like a board dynamic, and you know that people have different personalities and they conduct themselves differently. So with this transition, it gave me the opportunity to work alongside my senator who was working with them. So they were aware of my capabilities and the things that I can bring to the table, not only as an employee, but now obviously as a senator myself. They have given me the opportunity to show me a good deal of respect and collaboration, which I'm very thankful for.
Okay. What value do you bring to the legislature in general?
I believe a number of things. Like I mentioned earlier, I was born in St. Croix, raised on St. John, worked most of my career on St. Thomas. And as an at-large senator who represents all three islands, you need somebody who understands the diversity of all the three islands. Let alone, I also speak and write Spanish as well. My father was born in Puerto Rico. My mother is originally from St. John. So I think that I bring all of those things to the table, in addition to the fact that my outward appearance and my life choices are a little bit different from the normal senator that usually runs for office. And I think that that also brings a unique type of perspective to the legislature as well.
Okay. What would your former colleagues say about you, that persons you've actually worked with? What would they say about you?
I think they would say a lot of good things about me. They would say that I'm very patient. I think patience is one of my greatest attributes, along with communication. And communication not meaning just speaking, but one of my greatest superpowers, and I keep saying it all the time, is listening. Listening is a very important part of communication. People mostly think that just talking is communication, but listening is very, very important.
Okay, so that's your colleagues. Now, what would a former supervisor, somebody that you work under, say about you?
I would believe they would say the same thing also. I've worked for the board, like I mentioned. I've worked at Gift Hill School. I worked in many different hotels when I was in the hospitality industry. I think for most part, people know me as a very balanced, patient, very well collaborative and communicative type of person.
And what would people be surprised to know about you?
To know about me? Let's see, what would that be? I'm trying to figure it out. What would surprise them? I guess because most people might think that I belong on the hillside planting, which I love to plant, by the way. They may be very shocked to know that I am a very focused and intellectual person. I'm very big on research. I'm very big on trying to learn more. My wife even complains with me because I'm up long nights. I was reading all the time. I love to read. So I think a lot of people may not know that I'm just an avid reader and just pride myself in intellectual discourse at times.
As a sitting senator, I know you chair, I think it's 2 committees, right?
Chair one committee and vice chair of the other. The one that I chair is Justice and Public Safety, and I'm the vice chair in youth sports.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were given the opportunity to serve as chair in the 35th legislature, what committees or committee would that be and why?
I would be very, very adamantly happy if I could get economic development and agriculture. It's something that I'm running on, and I have a lot of great ideas that I would like to share with my colleagues concerning legislation and just to change the standard or the quality of life here in the Virgin Islands. As we know right now, we just have tourism, amongst other things, and hospitality, but I really believe that St. Croix specifically is primed for a lot of great things, such as agriculture, small or light manufacturing in some cases, and territorial-wide, I think we need to broaden opportunities for the small business sector. Small business drives any economy, but we need to take it another step further because there's too much red tape as it stands right now when it's time to get a business license. It's almost as if they want you to rent a place, pay for utilities, get all your licensures and permits, then you still got to turn around and buy your products if you're in a resale business or get the equipment that you need to utilize to actually conduct the service. But by the time you do all of that, you're in the red already. And I really think that we really need to open up or broaden those horizons and pull back on that red tape and give our people opportunities to have businesses from home, not just home, but also in housing communities. So we really need to talk to like HUD and other, the housing, the federal component, and ask, what are some of the businesses that are allowed in housing communities? Because housing communities shouldn't be generational. Unfortunately, they are. We know that families are living in there 2-3 generations long, or even longer. And it should be a transitional place. It should be somewhere that we could transition into our own home ownership. And that's really the vision that I'm trying to put forward and what I believe in. And I think by broadening small business opportunities, especially for housing communities and homeowners, we're going to see an exponential change in our economy.
Okay, so then you kind of sort of mentioned a few concerns that I'm sure many residents have, but from your perspective, what are the top 3 issues across the territory that you would want to assisting addressing?
So that's a very good question. However, I want to answer it 2 ways.
Sure.
Okay. I want to answer your question and then I want to explain to you what my perspective is on it. So, as it stands right now in the current environment of the Virgin Islands, education, healthcare, and the infrastructure are some of the largest issues that we currently have. Okay, we know what's going on with healthcare. Specifically, we need to get our hospitals up and running, especially on St. Croix. We really also need to open up the cancer center. There are not enough beds in some cases. So we know that's an issue. Education, facilities mostly, although we still have issues with the actual curriculum and how things are being conducted. We have new schools to build. And then the infrastructure, of course, which is sort of like a blurred line between the school as well, because it's our infrastructure capacity to build out those schools, our roads, and the structure of our whole economy, so to speak. Now, I want to answer the question again.
Your way. Okay.
I look at it this way. I believe that if we're able to have a healthy economy that generates the type of funding that we need in order to facilitate or to appropriate the proper amount of funding to every single agency, department, commission, board, etc., so they may in turn be able to hire and pay employees what they're supposed to be paid so that they retain jobs and attract the proper professionals. Not saying that we don't have them already, but a lot of them are very much underpaid. Okay, so that we have enough money to pay these individuals to still get the equipment and everything that we need in order for the agency, board, commission, etc., to operate and provide the proper services for our people in the Virgin Islands. Then I believe that we will start to see a change that will be across the board when it comes to health, education. It doesn't matter what part of the government. It's just going to overall, you're going to see a better standard of living.
Okay. From your perspective, what does good governance mean to you?
Good governance means being transparent, being a communicator, and also being able to collaborate, not only with just your government, but the private sector, nonprofit organizations, other governments. So I think good governance equates to a number of those things. And I think that for most part, good governance also has a lot to do with how we conduct ourselves as well. We have to let no nepotism. We have to do things by the book, do it the right way, follow your policies and procedures, etc.
Okay. What are two untapped economic development opportunities that you feel are underdeveloped, and what is your plan to contribute to the development of these industries?
Okay. Agriculture, for me, I believe is something that we really need to get more serious about. About 98% of the food, liquid sustenance, medication, all kind of stuff are coming from the outside. We don't create anything here. If we were, God forbid, had to have a disaster of some sort that would keep us off of the grid for more than 30 days, we would be in very, very bad shape without any assistance from the United States or any other government. So what we need to do is we need to start focusing on not only just agriculture, but we also need to focus on the light manufacturing and being able to have a structure in place so that when we get into these emergency situations, that we have a proper plan in place. But for most part, agriculture, if we're able to scale back on that 98% of what comes into the territory, because if the United States are elongated with another state because of a natural disaster, they may not have the time to come and assist us. So we're going to have to be able to be more self-sustainable. The second thing, again, I mentioned small business. I'm very, very passionate about it. I really think that we can give young entrepreneurs the opportunity to become great leaders in our society. When I go to the States with my wife, we don't go with strollers and playpens. We have a year-old, and we go to our hotel. We call up, and generally it's a young person running their own business from their home, have everything in their garage, and renting baby supplies and things of that nature. So again, we need to talk to HUD to see what can be done in the housing communities. Can it be hair braiding? Can it be rentals, baby rentals? What can it be? What are the options for those individuals? Because we have to provide more opportunities for our people.
And that was going to be my next question. What gap exists in small business development in the territory, and how can you contribute to filling that gap? And you mentioned two examples. Can you think of any other gaps that you see that we can allow our residents to tap into?
I believe we really need to start to incentivize our business owners. And why do I say that? Sounds kind of weird. Why are we giving small business owners money, right?
Tell us.
Well, I think that we need to create a small business incentivization fund, which is something that I want to legislate. Whereas, if you are a young person between the ages of 16 to 28 or something like that, that as a young person you have to prepare a business plan. It's going to go through the Economic Development Authority. And those young people, once you prepare a business plan for your business, rather than having to pay for that startup fund, which would be, I don't know, depend on the type of business, but it could cost a few $100s, right? But you may not have a business license or have the money to have a business license, but you have all of the things that you need in order to provide whatever service. Maybe you just want to make lemonade. So if you apply, it's going to be sort of like a grant.
Okay.
You apply for this grant and it covers your first year as a business license. So that $250 you would have paid to open up a lemonade stand for whatever reason is going to be covered by this incentivization fund. And it's only for young people so that we can spark more entrepreneurship and spark more young people getting involved. I think that we need to, that also helps with them being idle on the street. You know, it keeps them thinking about what can I do? Because they're all about trying to make a little change, you know. They want to go out there and they want to work. They want to do something. They want to carve their niche in our society. We as a government, we should provide those opportunities for them.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. Crime in the territory fluctuates. There's often an uptake and then a downslide. What do you think are two contributing factors to the uptake in crime, and how can the factors that you mentioned be addressed?
Okay, so currently what I've been hearing is that our murder rate is the lowest in 20 years. So crime, when it comes to homicides, has gone down. However, it doesn't take away from the domestic violence and other things that we're seeing sparking. So for young people especially, we have to create opportunities for them. Not only that, but also have the proper counseling and grievance services in the event that some of them have been wronged in any way, shape, or form, so that they can be able to become rehabilitated in a sense. We know that there's a lot of heinous types of crimes that take place outside of homicide. There's rape and abuse and other things, and in most cases you need to have counseling in order to recover from these things. So I think it's important that we have the proper 501c3 nonprofit organizations that specialize in this type of work, working with our government, working with our leaders in order to be able to have the proper services available at any given point in time to accommodate our children and even adults.
Okay, so what practical suggestions would you offer for police recruitment in the territory?
As it stands right now for police recruitment, we've seen a shortfall of officers being retained in the force. A lot of them come in, they train, they get the requisite amount of time that they work on the force, but they leave and go to the States and get paid 50% more than they're getting paid here in the Virgin Islands. And that is creating a shortfall in the police, the VIPD, and we need to try to fix that. And part of fixing that has to do with the fact that if they came in at 20 years old and they gave 25 years, which is the requisite amount of time for them to get a retirement, they're only going to be 45. And then they have to turn around and wait until they're about 60 in order to access their retirement. Okay. So between 45 and 60, that's a long amount of time. It would be good for them to be able to access their retirement earlier so that they can enjoy their lives. However, if we do that, then we put more strain on the GERS system. So we really need to find a very smart or innovative way to make that accessible. And matter of fact, that's another piece of legislation that I'm working on with Senator James. Whereas we're going to structure it much like Social Security, not in exactly. Okay. However, if you want to get your Social Security earlier, instead of getting 100% of what you're owed, is going to be less. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, maybe 80%, 60%, I'm not sure what it is. However, we're going to try to create a structured system around that. So these individuals who work in this brand, not only VIPD, fire, we're talking about people who have hazardous jobs. And if they want to access their retirement earlier rather than waiting until 60 years of age, then they need to understand that you can. However, you're not going to get the 100% if you wait until 60, and if you get it now, you're gonna get it at this percent for the rest of your life. Okay. That's the only way we're gonna be able to fix that.
Okay, well, thank you so much so far. Viewers, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back with you.
I am Eustace Grant Jr., also known as the Don Lee. I was diagnosed with stage 2 prostate cancer on August 31st, 2017. That moment changed my life. The hardest part of the experience was the thought of not being here to see my children and grandchild grow. Luckily, my family and support team were real. They had food sales to show their support. My prayer warriors and doctors were phenomenal. Do I encourage men to get screened for prostate cancer? The answer is an absolute yes. If you are an African American male with a family history of prostate cancer, you should begin screening at age 40. If you are unsure about screening, talk to your doctor to decide if screening is right for you. This message was brought to you by the Department of Health, Division of Chronic Disease and Prevention.
MCH has been in our community for over 40 years. Hi, I am Dr. Charmaine Myers, your MCH Director. Welcome.
Our Project Launch program, linking actions for unmet needs in children's health, promotes the wellness of children ages birth through age 8 by addressing the physical, social, emotional, cognitive, and behavioral aspects of their health. Please connect with us, join our mailing list, and stay tuned for upcoming events.
Our McV program caters to pregnant moms. Come join our home visitation program where we ensure the wellness of you and your baby.
Welcome to MCH Clinic, where we provide pediatric wellness checks, immunization and prenatal services. Coming soon, dental services.
The EDDY program conducts hearing screening on all newborn babies in the territory. If we missed your baby, Call us and we'll schedule an appointment.
MCH, serving the community is our business.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Senator Angel Bolques Jr. Senator, how can we prevent brain drain in the Virgin Islands?
Preventing brain drain really just stems from providing our young people with more opportunities in our society, along with paying them what they're actually worth. A lot of young people, go through the requisites of leaving high school, getting their 4-year degree, or if in some cases, some even go as further to get 8. And by the time they get out, then we have no availability or no options, no jobs for them. And we really need to have apprenticeship programs in place in agencies for those who meet the requisites that are interested in any specific area of the government, for them to hopefully transition. And we have also the issue of, and this is at no disrespect to anyone who wants to work 40 years in the government. However, if you've already served 30 years and you feel that you're ready to go, and in some cases, some of them stay because there's nobody to replace them. I can call some names, but it probably wouldn't be, adequate for me to do so now. However, that is the case. That is the problem. And what we need to do is create those opportunities for the apprenticeship programs for these young people to start filling in where our older retirees are able to retire.
Okay, speaking of education, identify one strength and one weakness of the public education system, and then expound on how we can build and improve upon the strength and the weakness mentioned.
I think right now, as it stands, there are a number of them. There's civics, financial literacy, and even Virgin Islands history in our schools, which I'm a proponent of. However, to answer this question, I'm going to go with civics. I really believe that we need to teach more civics in our schools so that we can prime our young people to understand how society works. All of the intricate pieces of society, what each institution or government agency is responsible for, the electoral process, all of the above. And I think that we need to also include a way for them to be able to put what I would like to call their best foot forward by being able to interact with our leaders a lot more than we're currently doing right now. I know that the Millennium Council is in place, but we need to do more youth-based 501c3 activity functions with our young people and let them have a part in our society when it comes to civics as well. But we really need to teach more civics in our high schools, and of course we get it on the college level, but it needs to start in our high schools with our young people.
Okay. Given that also, do you support the reestablishment of the Youth Commission? Why or why not?
Yes, I do. I do because of all of what I just mentioned. The children are a very important part of our generation. They are next in line. We should start empowering them to be able to fill what we now hold in these positions that we hold in life.
Okay. I've also oftentimes heard that some people in our communities look up to our senators. They're their mentors. Who is your mentor?
Oh gosh, I get too many of them. I have mentors too. Mentors, yeah.
Okay.
I will say, if I have to choose one, I would say my great aunt, former Senator at Large Cleon Quickie. She has been a very wise advocate on my behalf and has experienced a number of things that I obviously will not understand because I'm a man and she's a woman. However, in a time that she ran for Senate, women were not supposed to be in government. They were supposed to be home cooking and washing. So she's told me many stories about her challenges, and it makes me appreciate her more. And not only that, but just understand that no matter what happens, there are going to be those who may not understand or will not want to work with you, but you have to overcome these obstacles and go over these hurdles, especially if you know that what you're doing is not just for yourself, but for the people. And she's always been that type of person.
Okay, speaking of that, the composition of our current Senate and within the community, we're seeing a lot more females taking up their rightful place in leadership. Do you think that we've established or we've gotten to a point where we are now, there's equity or equality in the workforce?
We're getting there. I think that there's still yet more work to be done. And I would love to see more of that equity because I believe in equality. And I don't believe in any type of discrimination whatsoever. And it's important that as a society we respect one another regardless of sex, socioeconomic background, color, race, creed, etc. So that is very, very important to me.
Okay. So you're currently a sitting senator, a large senator. You're re-elected. What can people expect your legacy to be after this next full term?
After this next full term, I'm hoping to make advancements in the areas of agriculture and small business. My legacy, if I can call it that, which is kind of premature right now, but I am focused on generational pieces of legislation, things that are going to change lives, not just for the interim, but down the road. I think that, now I just got here, but I believe a good leader would always want to consider generational aspects of any legislation or laws or anything that they're trying to put in place that will protect our people from time and time again.
Okay. So as I said earlier, you have worked in the Senate and then now you're a senator at large. If there's one thing you can change about the institution, the legislature, what would that be?
I believe, I think the scheduling is very fragmented. What I mean by that is this. As it stands right now, you would have, let's just say, this is what month we're in? We're not. Well, don't say it. So, let's say there's a month here, right? Mm-hmm. And throughout this month, you'll have government operations, housing, finance, public safety, this, that. But then you're calling agencies to these hearings, right? And in some cases, some agencies fall into different committees, right? And then this agency is like, we have a hearing this week, then next week, tomorrow we have another one with this committee, then we have that committee. So in my opinion, not sure how it would work, but I believe to have that real in-depth conversation or purview, I feel like much like finance, because finance in my opinion is the template. You find that finance has a whole month carved out for itself. And every agency comes within that month, and we know we're talking about finance. I feel that what we need to do is schedule committees by months. Because then that way we're going to be able to dive down deep and get to the root of any issue concerning any of those agencies, because we're already programmed to say, this month we're on government operations. You know, and I think for most part, as an institution, I believe that we'll be able to do a better job of the purview process.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Senator, it's been a pleasure. So now here's the opportunity to tell the people of the Virgin Islands, because now you're across the board, why Senator Angel Bolques Jr. for another term.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. I appreciate it. And before I do that, I would like to thank Phi Beta Sigma once again and Zeta Phi Beta for having me along with this program. And I would like to say that I am tried and tested. I have made the sacrifices of going into the legislature to learn more. I could have stayed where I was, but I wanted to be able to be the best possible person for the job. And I believe that I'm able to do so because I understand the dynamics of all the islands. I was born on one, I lived on one for most of my life and worked on the other. I'm a people person, I collaborate, I communicate, and I just love my Virgin Islands. I love my Virgin Islands so much that I just had to be a part of this process concerning being a senator. And I've worked very hard for the last 4.5 years to do everything possible to be here today. And I'm asking you for the opportunity to vote for me. Either it's early voting or come November 8th, number 2 on your ballot, Angel Bolques Jr. So don't guess, vote Bolques.
Thank you so much, Senator. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on Just for the Record.
Hi, I'm Sheree Del Sol. I am here at Miss Naturalista. I am here on the Big Island of St. Croix. Not the first time, but my first time here at Miss Naturalista. They have been in business for 10 years. They sell everything, and I can't wait to see what they have.
Hi, welcome to Miss Naturalista.
Even though I personally don't have locks and I'm a loose natural, I know sometimes people with locks can feel overlooked in the hustle and bustle that is the natural hair community. So the fact that this store has products for people with locks is beautiful to me. Wow, it's an entire DIY section. A hot head. I tell you, this place has everything. I love using my hot head for my pre-poo. If you don't know what a pre-poo is, it's basically just throwing conditioner on your hair before you shampoo or do a co-wash. Just gets it nice and warm with this. It deeply penetrates into your hair strands. It gives you the conditioning that you need. I love it. I love using this for that, and I highly recommend it. And it's right here at Miss Naturalista.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote because I care too much about these great Virgin Islands to leave it in the hands of just anyone. My vote is my choice and my voice.
I vote because I want someone in office who shares my perspective on the issues.
I vote because I believe in the democratic process and I want my voice to be heard.
I vote for a better tomorrow.
I vote because I refuse to remain silent on critical issues that affect us as Virgin Islanders. I truly believe it is through voting that we can effectuate the changes necessary in the Virgin Islands that will guide us through prosperity.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote.
I vote.